this stat is just truly shocking. The unemployment rate for people with autism spectrum condition is 78%. So what can employers do to identify, which I guess is the first step, identify, recruit, retain neurodiverse talent? Anything that you've not already, like I say, we've touched on this, but is there anything that we've not yet discussed on that topic?
Okay, so on that front, I think I already said to Andy, he and I need to make friends as a result of this. There's definitely lots I think I can learn from you, Andy, and then feed into to our business, you know, in terms of everything you've talked about on the approach to the recruitment and that kind of talent acquisition process as well. But I guess that, you know, we as a you know, the steering group that I'm kind of here to represent, I guess, from NCC and from the broader business, we know we haven't got it all worked out yet. So it's, you know, we can navel gaze all we like, but we're not going to have all the answers. We can, you know, do things with the best of intentions, but there is more still to do. So with that in mind, what we've done more recently is partnered with a couple of different organisations to help us with exactly that. So Neurodiversity in Business is one of them. They're like a global organisation, which is helpful because we're a global business. So, you know, they can take into account the cultural differences as well that come with how best to, you know, do the best for our colleagues, really. And then another organisation called Lexic, which is, you know, we've worked with to do that bit of, you know, what are we missing? What are we you know, how are we getting in people's way and we don't even know that we're doing it? So they've given us loads of feedback on that. So I guess it's, you know, if the question is around, you know, what can we be doing differently more so, Mel? Remind me of the question, sorry, I'm off on a tangent again.
The question was, what can employers do to identify, recruit and then retain?
Okay. So I think there's a big part of this that comes with, you know, the work that Andy is involved in, really, that kind of you know, enabling, you know, kids in schools at that age to understand that there is a career hopefully in tech available, and, you know, the routes to it and the support to get there. That's something we do a bit of at the minute, but we definitely need to get better at. And there's a huge part of this, I think, is about psychological safety. So making, you know, there's a big thing with this, isn't it, is getting people comfortable to tell us at whatever stage they're comfortable that there is something we need to take into account that would give an equality of opportunity and set them up well for whatever that process looks like. And I think to your point that you know, disruptive thinking around, well, are you actually, is that the right thing to do? Is it, you know, are you going to get what you want out of a process? You know, don't just do it that way because you've always done it. And helpfully, there's lots of people, you know, that work for NCC that are not afraid to challenge and will ask the difficult questions and will, you know, I guess that lots of people's job in NCC is to find fault with things and to pick holes in things, and that is applied to everything. But it's brilliant. It's a really good thing. So, for instance, if you know, whatever I'm working on, I use that network of the Neurodiversity steering group to bounce stuff off them. So, most recent thing last week was this is a behavioural framework we've been developing with a consultancy for, you know, weeks and months. What do you think? And they absolutely ripped it to bits. And it's like, I'm not precious about that at all, because it's, you know, you're asking their opinion on it and everyone has a different opinion. Ultimately, that feedback makes for a much better end product that will then roll out to the whole business in terms of, you know, behaviours and being respectful of one another and all of that good stuff. The aim being that framework actually, gone full circle here, will help create more psychological safety in the business, and that's the kind of thing that if that is, you know, properly going on inside your business, it doesn't take long for that to be evidence to people who are, you know, coming to us for interview or, you know, trying to attract into the business. So we are actually working directly with another organisation called Autism Plus. What they do is that again work with us and give us feedback on our adverts neurodiversity friendly? Are we advertising in the right places? It's so it helping us. We haven't got all the answers, so we are definitely tapping into those partner relationships to help us with a lot of that. So that's what me and Andy are going to be best of friends by the end of this. Yeah.
I think 78% is a lot, isn't it? Okay, so when I left the military, completely unemployable, absolutely unemployable. My last service was when I served in the military. It was over in Afghanistan, and I left and I came sort of back to the UK. And I had both complex issues. One, which is that I lived in a completely isolated world of only military and rules for that period of time. And then secondly, I had autism, which just made me completely unemployable. So I ended up working as a private military contractor, again in Iraq and Afghanistan, for a while before I realised I could introduce some sort of cybersecurity things into data protection and all that sort of interesting stuff. And I came back, a friend of mine called me from the military, and he said, "You know that they're now hiring people to hack systems." I was like, "Really? Sounds like a good job." So that was how I got into cybersecurity from that point. From a point of view of autism, completely honest, I joke about sometimes. I say about, I'm now in human evolution, and that's. But it does really feel as if we don't belong here at all. It feels sometimes as if, we just never got the memo about most of the stuff that you think that you consider. And I think it goes back to that process of, well, there's 2 points. One is almost fighting against each other. One is the inability for autistic people to take on certain elements of culture because of that amygdala process, which it's only nanoseconds, but that's a process that we're missing. But on the other side, it's all language is created through culture, and culture is a signal, and therefore, in order to understand that culture, you have to understand those signals, and we can't interpret those signals. So again, it's like the facial expressions. You wouldn't know I'm happy, but I can. But I don't know if you're happy either. So, for instance, my daughter came in the other day crying. I thought she was laughing. And so it's difficult to interpret those processes that you do, or sarcasm. I don't. Everybody thinks I'm sarcastic. I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. And then, but then when neurotypicals are sarcastic, that is just really confusing. Because one, it's not funny. Secondly, it doesn't make any sense because it's usually not a set pattern for it to be funny. Yeah, it's confusing, but it does feel as if we're not supposed to be here, or it feels as if I'm not supposed to be here.
Thanks. So, what can people do? What can employers do? I think employers, on a very human level, can discover their humanity. And if people look at that number, like I did when I first came across that number, they should be appalled that we live in a country where that can exist. Where 78% of people with autism don't work, will never have a full-time job. That's ONS figures. So the first thing that employers should do is get really angry about that, I think. Get really feel passionately about that. Get angry and do something about it. Take a long, hard look at their organisation. And if they are bothered about it, if they're as bothered as me about it, do something about it. Do everything about it that they can do to move the dial on that number. Because in the 21st century, we live in a country where my son has got a 20% chance of working. Just think about that. Makes me, just saying it makes me very emotional. And employers, those employers out there that feel like this should do something about it. On a verse level. And they should ask themselves what they should do, whether it's getting rid of the 34-page questionnaire, whether it's making reasonable adjustments, and celebrating the fact that your workplace is open and welcoming of neurodiversity, and is a place where neurodiversity can thrive, and people can be the best that they can in the environment that you provide. But it worries me that that's not going to happen. That is just too easy to say that. Oh, that's crap number. That's rubbish, and then forget about it and move on. I mean, it's central to everything that we do. Annoyingly, that's going to be pretty annoying now. It's actually changed. The ONS have actually just come out with a new number, which is 76%. So the dial has shifted a little bit. It's actually really annoying because we've just spent the last 3 months developing a campaign called the 78% campaign. With our young people, developed a campaign called Get Autism. And this is, we said we need a campaign, working in a digital agency, we need a campaign to help you lot get more jobs. And we left them to it, getting a bit of guidance. And they came up with this campaign is Get Autism. And yeah, the 78% features all the way through it in films and edits and everything. And there's literally 76% came out like last week or something like that. But there's once you decide you're going to do something about it, there is loads of stuff that you can do. There's absolutely loads of stuff that you can do. We get people that have usually late diagnosed with autism come to us after university and say, I've got first in computer science, why can't I get a job? And it's a bit like your experience. So how can you help me? Well, you come and spend some time with us, and we'll get to know you, and we'll get to know what you want to do, and get how you can do that. And over time, and it will take months usually, if not longer, we will do what we can to get you into that job. And there are increasing numbers of employers that do that. GCHQ, SEC, Auto Trader always held up as a great place to that really celebrate autism and really accommodate. It's part of their identity really, and that's maybe what you need to do. You need to make probably neurodiversity part of your identity as an organisation. But most of all, just as an employee, as an employer, or a person that works in the employment team of that, it's just like, look at that number and ask yourself what the hell you're going to do about it.